Hey guys, Chris the Lazy Geek here and welcome back to the channel, and look what I have here. I have the new smart telescope from Dwarf Lab. This is the Dwarf III smart telescope. And if you've been a long-time viewer of the channel, you know that I like smart telescopes, and I'm very interested in this one because it is basically the smallest smart telescope there is. Like, this Dwarf series are the smallest smart telescopes, which means they're very easy to take traveling. It so happens that very soon I'll be going to France to see my family, and so what should I take with me? Hopefully it's gonna be this, because we're gonna unbox it now and see what's inside, and maybe tonight, if the weather allows, I'll be doing the first imaging with the Dwarf III. On paper, it has much better specs than its predecessor, the Dwarf II. It has the Sony IMX678 Starvis 2 sensor, so new sensor with modern technology that has 2 micrometer pixels for better resolution. It has an aperture now of 35 millimeters compared to, I don't remember what it was, but like 20, 25, something like that for the previous version. Still, and with a focal length of 150 millimeters, so slightly slower focal ratio than other smart telescopes. We'll see how much of an impact this has. It also has internal filters, just like the C-Star S50. It has a filter for terrestrial photography, it has a filter for astrophotography, and it has a dual band or quad band light pollution filter for astrophotography as well. So that's also stuff that I'm very excited about. Also, just like last time, it has both a zoom lens, so that's what I just talked about. That's going to be the main lens that you're using, but it also has a wide field lens. And unlike last time, apparently we'll be able to use the wide field lens to take astrophotography images as well. So we're going to see how well that pans out. They've also included a battery that's apparently twice the capacity as the old battery, which is good. And instead of having to use a micro SD card, just like that we had to use in the Dwarf II, now there is 128 gigs of internal eMMC storage. So that's also good and convenient. You can get the data off of the scope via USB-C. Without further ado, let's get it opened. So we're opening the box. We get a bag with, hopefully, a smart telescope inside. And by the way, I got this from Dwarf Lab. I'm not sure if I get to keep it or not. I think I do, not sure, don't really care. So maybe I'll put text down below if I find out. It should be in my disclosure if I receive anything of value. I don't know if I receive anything of value. Yeah, we'll see. And we get a similar type of bag that we had from the Dwarf II that I actually have here as well. So we have the Dwarf III, the Dwarf II, very similar bag to contain everything, but we are currently looking at the Dwarf III. So let's keep opening things up. And we have the main body in plastic. I'm not going to open the plastic yet because we need to look at the accessories first. And the bag is well arranged. You have like pockets on the side, stuff like that. Pretty cool. So let's look at the accessories. We have this box with a nice full leather bag that contains, what does it contain? Aha! It looks like it contains solar filters, magnetic solar filters for the Dwarf II to do some solar imaging. Nice! It covers both the wide field lens and the long focal length lens. And this is actually very interesting because this is something that changes from the Dwarf II. The Dwarf II had external filters and it supported typical 1.25-inch filters for astrophotography. This is no longer the case, at least on the face of it. I'm pretty sure that with 3D printing, we'll find a way. But this is solar filters only. And let me put it back into its little pouch and we can have a look at it later. We also have a cleaning cloth for the Dwarf II. We have a USB-C to USB-C cable to charge it. That's good. We have an instructions manual. And we have a shoulder strap for the bag. So we're getting, and I think that's pretty much it for the accessories. Haha! Now we can go to the actual telescope. Note that there is one accessory that is missing that was in the Dwarf II, and that is a little tiny tripod. To be fair, the tripod of the Dwarf II was nothing to write home about. So yeah, I think it's fine that they didn't include a tripod. Also, I think that just like the Dwarf II, you can put it on a table and leave it be. If you need to use a tripod, you can use any photo tripod with it. So let me open up the actual telescope, see what we get. And ooh, guys, nice silver look. The axes are locked. I could move them freely on the Dwarf II. It doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So it seems to be controlled only by motors. This is the Dwarf II, the old version, and I can, move things around manually. It doesn't seem to be the case with the Dwarf III. Let me get those accessories out of the way. We have them here side by side. The Dwarf III is, in Japanese, I would say hitomaori ooki. So it's just like one size larger than the Dwarf II, while still being extremely portable. So I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing right now. There are slots at the bottom, or like there are grills at the bottom for apparently a speaker and a microphone. A microphone? Oh, so for terrestrial stuff, you can actually record the sound. Okay, that makes sense. And there's what appears to be a button here on the side. I don't see any, maybe LEDs are kind of hidden behind a cover. That's pretty cool. Okay, so this button here on the side can be pressed once to turn it on, and we get a pretty cool visualization of the light. We have like a translucent cover over the light, and here, I don't know if it's visible, there are small 4 LEDs that are showing what I believe to be the battery level, just like the Dwarf II. And I'm told that there is an NFC chip in there, so that if I put my phone on it, it vibrated and it's now launching the Dwarf app and trying to connect to the scope. So I will let it do so. And here we are, the connection was successful, and it is asking me to activate the Dwarf device. So let's see what happens when I click on activate. Activating. ActiveX success. I'm not sure exactly what that does. I'm always a bit leery about activations, but I mean, in today's world, I guess it is what it is. And let's play, sure. Cool. So we can, as usual, turn on and off the ring indicator, the battery indicator. We have the Dwarf here, and I can put it into photo mode. Okay, I see, it's working there. I can close the photo modes. I can, go to the Atlas? Oh, cool! And it requires a database to download. So yeah, I'm going to download now to see what the Atlas gives us. This is getting advanced. This is like C-star level stuff. Okay, now it's downloaded. Cool. And we indeed have a star atlas, just like on the C-star. Man, they put some effort into the software. Dang, so can we can change stuff, atmosphere, stuff like that. Let me go back. I'm just like, this is the first time I'm touching this app, so I'm kind of going in blind. I don't know what is what. And wait, there's a firmware upgrade that's available? Oh, fix the astronomical dither drift issue. It can dither? This is awesome. This is actually really, really good. If you're not familiar with it, dithering is an operation by which the telescope, while it's imaging a target, in between exposures, it will drift a little bit off of the target intentionally, just so that it can basically put the stars from your field of view onto separate pixels, different pixels than the previous exposure. And then when it does the automated stacking, and it can use that dithering effect to diminish the impact of hot pixels and fixed pattern noise on the sensor. It's something that the Hubble Space Telescope does, for instance. So we're going to download the firmware and update the firmware. The initial Dwarf II, when you needed to update the firmware back when it was released, it was a bit of a bother. So it's good to see that they have now really updated the system so that things like that, like maintenance, are easier than they used to be. I'm getting more and more excited, and the firmware is upgraded. Please restart the telescope. Sure. So I guess I can go to settings, my device, and in there, reboot. Let's try to reboot. Reboot now and see what happens. Yep, the LED is actually turning red. I don't know if you can see it. And will it restart? Yes, it has restarted. So I need to connect to the device again. I guess I can go home, connect, device searching. Maybe it's not ready yet. Let's give it a little bit of time for it to get really booted up. Aha, it didn't find it originally, so search again. Maybe the boot up takes some time before it's detectable, and there it is. We have the Dwarf that's available, and we are now connecting to it. Okay, the connection was successful. It took like 30 seconds, something like that, so I'm not sure why it was taking longer than earlier. But now I guess if I go to the settings, my device and the firmware version, it has been upgraded. So that's great. Let's see. So yeah, so I can click on photo. And I guess this is the same interface as it used to be. I can open up. Oh yes, we have the joystick just like we did before. Just like before, I can change the speed of the joystick. There it is. Now you can see the camera that I'm using to record this video. And I can remove the little plastic on top of the lenses. Dwarf II, camera, Dwarf II, audience, Dwarf II, say hi. Okay, this is really fast. That's that fast speed. And this is the wide field camera. Let's see. In the top left, that's the wide field camera. And I guess we would need to look at a distant object for it to be able to, let's see, can we point it to those clouds there? Yes, there are the clouds from the zoom camera. Oh, this is so cool. Can I click on focus? Can I do some autofocus? Okay, it doesn't like clouds. That's fine, I can forgive you. Let's try again. Autofocus. Aha, it's getting a bit lost because there's two planes of focus there. Yeah, I don't blame you. It has trouble, let's do it manually. There we go, we're getting closer, closer, closer. Boop. I guess we're in focus now. This is really cool. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. And this looks very similar to the Dwarf II interface. So I can take a picture. There it is, I've taken a picture. I guess I can tap here to get to the wide field lens and let's say hello to the camera. Oop, hello camera, and I'm on there. And we can take a picture. Okay, so this is pretty cool. Now, if it's the same as before, there it is. When tapping on photo, I can change the mode. And for me, something that is going to be very nice is going to be Astro. Ooh, this is so exciting. What's this icon there? Oh, this is a help button. After focusing, calibration, go to and image stacking, an astrophotography work will show up on your screen. Take dark frames to minimize the color noise. It is necessary to take dark frames first. Okay, so little tutorial there. That is really nice to have that within the system itself. And we also have for sun and moon, what to do to take images of the sun and the moon. Pretty well done. And let's see, let's go back to photo modes. I want to see what the function button there does. Oh, it can do object tracking, sun tracking, and moon tracking. So you don't need to be in astrophotography mode to use, like, to do imaging of the sun and of the moon. So let's go back to Astro. What comes up in Astro? We have taking darks, the equatorial. Oh wow, there's an equatorial mode. The equatorial mode neutralizes the effect of Earth's rotation, ensuring stable tracking during long... Oh my gosh, we can set up the Dwarf II natively in equatorial mode. Please focus. Oh my words. Okay, I'll have to look at that later. This is insane. Get ready, a Dwarf device, a stable tripod. Okay, exit. We're not going to do that yet, but this is very exciting. Calibration. And it also gives us a link to the star atlas. So we could say like, hey, I want to take an image of whatever that is. And one click go to, manual go to. My word. Okay, so we see there's a lot of features that seem to be available. I'm going to wait until the night and we're going to try them together. So see you then. Okay, and we are at night. I have the Dwarf III set up on the little photo tripod that this camera used to be set up on, as you saw earlier. And I am connected with my smartphone to it. And so I want to see, can I take images of stars with it? Obviously, I have some light coming off so that I can actually film at the same time. So it's really not ideal conditions for this poor little telescope, but we'll see. We'll put it through its paces, see what happens. So I guess I can go to photo, then astro mode. Okay. And I will direct it to an area where there's a lot of stars. If it's anything like, because I want to see first if it's in focus, and also I want to see if it's anything like the Dwarf II. So let me amend the speed there, move it up, up, up. There, we're getting to a nice area with stars, hopefully. And then I'm going to go to function. It's very similar indeed. Go to shutter speed, and maybe I will set the shutter speed to something like 1 second, just so that I can see the stars. Okay, I can see stars. They actually look to be fairly well in focus. So what I can try to do is maybe go to, I don't know, the atlas, the sky atlas. See what happens when I go to the sky atlas, and I will select a target. I think an easy one would be M27 for this season. And okay, M27. Can I select it? Oh, point the lenses to a cloudless sky with dense stars, ensuring there are no obstructions. I guess that's what we have right now. I'm going to say OK. And it does autofocus automatically. Then it calibrates. So wait, it immediately determined that the stars were in focus. That's interesting. And now it is calibrating exactly like the Dwarf II used to do. So when it's calibrating, it's actually using the area of sky that you pointed it to originally. And then it will move 10 degrees to the left, 10 degrees to the right, take an image each time, and then using that, it will analyze the stars in each image to know exactly where it was pointed each time, and then it can do some triangulation effectively. So that's what it's doing right now. Very, very interesting. It's doing it automatically as part of the flow. And now let's go to the target. It's going to M27. Without me having to do anything. That is, oh, and it failed apparently because it encountered a limit. Yes, there is indeed a limit with the Dwarf II as well. It's a physical limit on the telescope. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to manual. That's fine. What we can do is make sure that the hard stops are facing towards my balcony wall there, so I know I don't need them. And then I'm gonna move again and start from scratch. Not a big deal. So let me put the maximum speed. Okay, I'm hitting a hard stop. So it means that right now the Dwarf II is unable to point exactly in this direction. That's actually not great. I want to, there. I will put it so that it's towards the north star, because I rarely have targets towards the north star. So let's go back to the same area we were at. And then tap focus, then calibrate. So I'll do some autofocus, see what happens. Aha, now it's really doing some autofocus. And I'm sorry, we're just discovering at the same time. This is a first light without knowing anything about the telescope, but it seems to be taking exposures of the stars and finding out the point of best focus. Now it's on the other side of focus. And boom, the focus is now perfect. The stars are pinpoint. That's pretty cool. And it tells me to calibrate. Maybe I can go to calibration there and confirm. And now it's doing the calibration. Okay, so now I'm reading it manually, but I assume that it would have gone to M27 automatically if we hadn't hit the hard stop on the telescope. It's a bit of a shame that this hard stop still exists, because then you can see I'm used to that kind of stuff, so I knew what to do. But someone who is not used to the telescope might be a bit like confused about what is going on. Okay, so now it is calibrating. Okay, super cool. So now, once done, tap here to start go-to. Aha, so it remembered I wanted to point to M27, I guess, and now it's trying again. Aha, and this time it was successful, and I do see some kind of weird blob at the center of the field of view. So this is actually working really smoothly. Despite that hard stop, things are doing well. And so now that it's on M27 and tracking M27, I guess we can start imaging. So just like with the Dwarf II, I'll go to my settings and say my shutter speed will be maybe like half. Oh, we can go up to 60 seconds. But I'll just say like 10 seconds. Okay, 13 seconds, whatever you like. And the filter, because it's an emission nebulae, it's M27, I can use the dual band filter. That should be ideal for it, especially with the light that is shining on me. And oh wow, it's taken one exposure. You know what I will turn off the light so that yeah, it has better chances. Give me a second. Okay, and now I can try to click that red button. Oh, and it tells me take dark frames. No, I'm too lazy for that right now. I'm so sorry, Dwarf Lab. I want to see how well it's going to work. So normally you'd take dark frames. With the Dwarf II, you would put the Dwarf into the bag. But I think with the Dwarf III, you can just use the ND filters on top, like the solar filters effectively, and see what happens. So we are taking exposures now, 13 seconds each. And we'll see as they stack how well we can see M27. And we have one exposure stacked. Now 2 exposures stacked. Okay, I'll let it do its job for a bit. And then once I've gotten like maybe 5-10 minutes of imaging, I'll get back to you so we can see the results together, how well it is performing, at least on M27. So see you then. Okay, and we are stacking and we have roughly 5-6 minutes of stacking time already. And it's working, and we see M27, the dumbbell nebula, very clearly at the center with the lobes being visible. And if it's anything like the Dwarf II, yes, we should be able to adjust the curves. So let's have a look at M27, and we can adjust the curves so that it is a bit more visible like that to us while we are stacking. So this is the result with just 5 minutes of imaging. And so it tells us that for small target, it's actually pretty good, although we are seeing some star trailing. To be fair, there is indeed a lot of wind to this, so I'm not holding it against the Dwarf III, but this is a very, very good first light. Let me maybe try another target, something a bit more wide field, because we can see how much of a wide field this telescope has. And we can go towards the North American Nebula, NGC 7000. So I'm going to do that right now. So I can stop the imaging session. And there it is, and current session. And now I guess I can go again to the Atlas. And in the Atlas, I can select NGC, or let's say North American Nebula. There we go. And I'm currently tracking M27. Do you want to stop and switch to Caldwell 20? Yes, absolutely. Okay. And now it is doing its go-to target to the North American Nebula. Now, the software doesn't yet have like a field of view indicator on the Sky Atlas. That would be a nice add for the future. But now we are apparently on the North American Nebula. So let's go back to the function. We can go again to the filter and say we want the dual band filter. And we want a shutter speed of 10, 13 seconds. Like with the wind, I'm going to go 10 seconds. That way we have less impact. And I'll put I'll leave it be like that and just start the exposures. Again, I'm not taking darks. I just want to see what it can do when I'm being lazy. And yeah, I'll see you in 5-6 minutes to see what the North American Nebula looks like from the Dwarf III. But for now, this is a very good experience in a tiny package. Okay, and we're roughly at like say almost 10 minutes now, 9 minutes, something like that. And I love the result that we are getting. We start seeing the North American wall, and we have some of the structure from the North American Nebula from basically just like less than 10 minutes exposure. Let's see if I can go to the curves and change that so that we see what we're doing, what we have a bit more. And yeah, that's one of the good things I like with the scope as well, being able to play a bit with the curves. Just for the preview, this doesn't affect the final image. It's just, it gives us the ability to view things a bit more easily. And like that, we can see the actual inside of the North American Nebula there, and the Cygnus wall, or the wall that's towards the top, is there. And it keeps stacking and stacking and stacking exposures. It's tracking pretty well, especially since the target is so high in the sky, where azimuth alt-az mounts have trouble. And man, I'm very happy that this seems to be performing extremely well. Okay, let me stop it for now, but this is a very, very good sign. I am very impressed by this first night with the Dwarf III. So with that, this has been the unboxing and my first impressions of the Dwarf III. And for now, I am very happy with what I am seeing. We have a very portable, light, smart telescope with decent, apparently looking optics, a decent sensor, algorithms to stack that seems to work well, and it can record everything as a FITS files, as raw files for us to process later on if needed. And the only things that I've seen that can be really improved for now is like the UI flow is still a bit like somewhat unclear, but it works once you're used to it. Also, like the star atlas doesn't have like a field of view indicator yet, but I'm sure they'll add that at some point. And another thing that I noticed while I was turning it off and on, like in between videos, I noticed that if I turn it off directly like that, it will stay in position, and then I cannot close it manually. So it's better to go ahead and close it manually yourself before you turn off the telescope. If you turn it off from the software itself, it will only close the lens there. It will not rectify the situation there. So it's I prefer to just do it manually myself, as I'm doing right now, just closing off the lens and then aligning the dots at the back so that now we are good, ready to go, and I can just turn off the Dwarf III. And there we go. This is a good experience. I'm really happy to see that the Dwarf II has a good follow-up, as far as I can tell, with the Dwarf III, that we have an additional smart telescope on the market that seems to be performing really, really well. And the autofocus was fast, the go-to was fast, stacking worked well. And yes, it was affected by the wind. When we were taking images of M27, we lost like 20% of frames to stack. But I think this pretty bad tripod had something to do with it as well. So something to look further at. And full disclosure, I'm going to France in a couple of weeks. And I was wondering what equipment to take with me because I have only limited luggage space. And I'm thinking maybe this will fit the bill. Let me know what you think of this as a choice down in the comments. While you're at it, like the video. If you're new to the channel, you may consider subscribing to the channel. And if you want to support the channel more directly at no cost to you, and you're planning on buying anything from Amazon, Agena, High Point Scientific, or even you want to buy this Dwarf telescope, I'll have the links down in the description. If you do so after clicking the links in the description, you will help me out at no cost to you. And if you want to help more directly and you want to sponsor the channel and sponsor my videos, you can become a Patreon member using the link in the description, or become a channel member. That is the join button next to the subscribe button. And you guys, you truly sponsor this channel. This channel would no longer exist without you. So thank you so much for your generosity as always. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments, what you think of this new version of this telescope. I'm personally very happy with it for now, but again, let me know down in the comments. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, whenever you can, to look up at the stars, and I'll see you next time.